I started literally pleading anyone who can hear me, and I meant the divine God, any spirit or anyone, that I really want to stay alive. Please, please, God, I don't want to die yet. I'm not ready. My connection to God became deeper and deeper and deeper, to the point where you don't even wonder anymore. You don't even doubt anymore. You don't even question anymore. You just know that God exists, and that's it. It kind of reaffirms that phrase that I received during that ceremony, that God is real, everything else is an illusion. Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, or welcome back if you are familiar with my content. So in this video, I really would like to share with you one of my stories from the Mexican trips that I've been doing for the last 4 years before I came to Islam. That's for the disclaimer. So I was doing shamanic ceremonies, and one of them was very interesting, and I really wanted to share this with you. For a while I've been thinking how I can tell you about what really happened and what is the main message. So at some point I went to one of the shamanic ceremonies, and as always we were preparing really well, and we prepared for the night in the Amazon forest, for the night of meditations and visions and mystery and things like that. I was a spiritual seeker for many, many years, and I was on New Age path. So I was deeply interested in spirituality, and I was reading a lot of books, including those like the esoteric studies, like How to Manifest Your Life, The Law of Attraction, Are the Laws, like they're described in the Kybalion, for example, book, and things like that. So I was always interested in the mysteries of life, and not just this life, but beyond. As I was saying in my other videos, I was interested in astral travel, out-of-body experiences, lucid dreaming, and things like that, because I really wanted to explore if there are other dimensions, and I wanted to know as much as I could. So at some point I was meditating for a long time. At some point I went to mediumship circles. So anything that could help me to kind of get out of this realm, of this dimension, and to see if there are any other dimensions. I was always curious about that. So in that particular ceremony, everything started really well, and the visions were quite profound. It was interesting. They were taking me to some other places, like other dimensions, something undescribable, something where my heart was just opening and singing, kind of thing. And the visions were quite interesting, and they were quite beautiful. It's like you're going to some museum where you see on a display various jewelry made of very precious stones, that kind of thing, as if I'm looking at the shelves with different like precious stones. I don't know why, but I had a lot of those visions. They were sparkly, and it was like so nice to be there, even though in my normal world I am not such a materialist. I don't collect all the precious stones or anything like that, so I don't have that particular interest. But in my visions quite often they started like that. So as the visions progressed and as the night went on, at some point I felt I was going deeper and deeper. And even though my mind couldn't grasp anymore on that reality, I mean, I called reality, but it was the other reality. My mind couldn't grasp anymore because I was just going in it. And logically, I just couldn't pull any information anymore. I was just going deep, like, you know, when you're falling deep into some sleep. So you start having visions of a dream, but if somebody wakes you up, it's not 100% that you'll remember all the details of that dream. But nevertheless, it's very real, and it's very deep, and it's very significant. So, and at some point, my mind said to me, I think we're gonna die. I think this is it. It's the end of life. And to be honest, I started freaking out, because I thought, oh my God, I'm not ready to die. I'm not ready to exit this world. There is so much going on there. There is so much to explore. I'm doing quite good with my life, with exploration, with adventures. I was a digital nomad with my laptop, just traveling in different countries. So that was my dream for many years before, and I achieved that dream. So I was enjoying, really. Even though part of me was always longing for something, that there is always some kind of hole that is very difficult to fill with anything. But that's another story. That's a spiritual void that I've researched about later, or existential kind of crisis, you can say, existential emptiness, that kind of thing. Nevertheless, on the surface, everything was going well with my traveling and with my digital nomad life. So when I realized that I am dying, I started literally pleading anyone who can hear me, and I meant the divine, God, any spirit or anyone, that I really want to stay alive. Please, please, God, I don't want to die yet. I'm not ready. I was thinking about my parents and what they will go through if I'm gonna die, and I thought I can't exit just yet. My mind started giving me images of that I should be saved by some ambulance right now, that somebody should call ambulance, that the person is dying, nobody sees it. And then my mind started producing visions of my dead body and how others will discover it. And they will say, oh my God, why, what happened to her? And what a pity, she is already dead and she's still fairly young, that kind of thing. And that went on for a long time, and it seemed like for hours. And it seemed like I couldn't do anything. I couldn't call for help. I was just like deep in that tunnel of like death, really, of like dying, with constant visions of what will happen afterwards when they will discover my body. So then I start having thoughts about, kind of silly thoughts about, like, is my apartment clean enough when the people will come to see it, when they will discover me? I hope I didn't leave any debts for my family with any of my credit cards, for example. It seems like they were small, but they were important. Things that I didn't want to leave as a burden for my family and for my friends. At some point, and I feel like it was hours later, one of the girls who was conducting the ceremony, she discovered that I am not doing great. So she came to me and she started reassuring me that everything is going well, that I will be fine, and I'll just need to relax and breathe. And she started singing songs for me, which were really soothing for my heart. And it felt like nothing really matters in this world more than having people who are willing to care for you and willing to be there for you in the times of crisis. That felt like so significant. Like nothing else really matters, no matter how much you have and what you have in the house. The people matter. This girl encouraged me to pray to God to stay here in this reality, on this earth. That I have many things to go for, that I'm grateful for the things that I have and for the people that I have. And this is what I started doing. I started asking God again and again to please grant me life so I could continue with a purpose, or with an even greater purpose, with the great things that I can do for humanity or for other people whilst I'm here. And at some point, I felt like the clock turned. There was some switch. And I had this feeling that I'm coming back to this life, to this reality, and somebody granted me life. I will stay as a human being to continue, with the condition that I will be doing even more. It's like somebody could hear me. And I mean, somebody, I do think it was God who could hear me. We know, for example, from Islamic viewpoint, that Allah is near. God is near. God always hears us and sees us. He knows what's in our hearts, in our minds. He can hear our pleas. He can hear our cries. And I do think at some point, this is what just happened. God gave me a right to continue this life after hearing my realization about what I've been doing so far and where I can go. I mean, after that, I felt like I gained even more purpose. If you look at my old videos on this channel, for example, I never talk about anything like drastically paranormal, spiritual, nothing that could kind of jeopardize my career of a psychologist at that time. But after all these experiences, I can say to you that you come to the point where you don't mind so much to share your personal experience anymore with the world, because you know, and it's a deep knowing, it's not a belief, it's a knowing that this is all temporary anyway, and I'm just here to share with you whilst I'm here. And at some point we all will exit one by one from this game, from this reality. And in Islam, Allah even says that this life is a game, and it's a very short, like a dream, when we go back to the other side. And even Dolores Cannon, she was writing in his books, even though she was writing about past lives, which eventually became like a question for me, like, what is a past life? Is it a parallel life? Is it something that our mind constructs? Is it something that our soul experience because we are connected as souls? so we can experience for other people, like what is past life as well. Especially like in the religions, for example, there is no such thing as past lives. So there has to be some explanation for that. But that's kind of off the tangent. So after that, I could feel that my battery start charging back up. And I literally started telling this girl that my battery is 15% up, another 10% up. Now it's at 35, now at 50, now it's 60% up, now it's 75. So I start gaining kind of some kind of energy, like energy to go back fully in my body, that kind of thing. And when I came back to really to myself, I wasn't quite 100% because I was a little bit spaced out, and it felt like I'm still connected to some other realm or something beyond this reality. I'm still connected to it. And basically, when I came back, there was a phrase in my head as if somebody told me over and over and over, God exists, everything else is an illusion. And I could never forget this phrase. It was like somebody planted it like a stamp inside of my mind. It wasn't me, it was somebody else who said this to me. Like, remember this and share it with others. God exists, everything else is an illusion. After that experience, when I was talking to other people about it, they say to me, like, this is what is called ego death, when your ego gets like crushed. And to be honest, it felt like this because I felt very vulnerable. I felt even traumatized by that experience. And for 2-3 weeks, probably, I was very fragile in the way I was thinking and seeing this world. Everything, whatever I was looking at, especially like nature, I was very grateful to be alive. I was really grateful that somebody granted me life. It was a very strong feeling that I cannot compare with anything else. Even though I had years before, I had this experience where I was in the hospital and I had a surgery, which I talk about in my like near-death experience in my other videos. Still, this one, it literally traumatized me to the core. I felt like I was so near to crossing that life-death threshold. I could feel the pull of that tunnel that is taking you away from this life. I really could feel that I am going there. It's still shaking me up when I'm remembering this experience. After that experience, when the ceremonies kind of lost the attraction because it seems like I was getting more and more what I needed to have in terms of that spiritual fulfillment and also some kind of knowledge, I felt that I'm progressing in terms of my connection to God. It became deeper and deeper and deeper to the point where you don't even wonder anymore, you don't even doubt anymore, you don't even question anymore. You just know that God exists, and that's it. No matter how you might think of what it looks like, that's a different question. But that greater power, it is there, and it is with us, and it is around us, and it can see us, and so on. After that, when I came back to Egypt, the synchronicities started happening like all around me. First of all, I established a prayer. I became really deeply interested in Islam. And Islam, it started giving me some kind of path, discipline. Many questions were answered during my studies. Maybe I could see it with a different viewpoints as well, because I was trading that path of spirituality for so long. And after doing all these vivid shamanic ceremonies, perhaps I'm reading certain things in Islamic texts through my own lens. That's possible. But nevertheless, it started feeding me, and I started having connections with God, with Allah on daily basis. And if you are in Islam, this is what happens because you are praying every day and a few times a day. So you're always reminded about your connection to God, to the divine. And the more you are in connection with that divine, the more good synchronicities happen for you, and the more doors start opening up for you. For example, when I came back to Egypt and I decided to find some circle of Muslim women, if anything like this exists here, I couldn't find anything. So I thought maybe I'll organize one myself. So I decided to post some kind of ads on Facebook pages and to see if anybody will respond. Maybe somebody is new Muslim or somebody is interested in Islam like me. Maybe we can go out for a coffee and things like that. So I started thinking about it. And for a few weeks, I had this idea in my mind, how I will post to whom, on which pages and so on. But I just couldn't get around to it. And at some point, I had a dream. In that dream, I saw my grandmother, who is at the moment 96 years old. She lives in Moscow, and she's at times like between the worlds as I see it. Subhanallah, she's doing good, and she recognizes us, and we can even remind her about things from the past and things like that, as long as it's not too complicated or deep or too fast. So anyway, so I saw her in my dream, and she said to me, you have to make a post in one of the groups which you organized before. And I had organized one group for females before in Egypt, and it was for females, not necessarily in Islam or any spirituality or religion. It was literally ladies for a coffee kind of group. But the thing is, I knew that there is no Muslim ladies in that group because I knew it from the past. But my grandmother insisted, and she said this twice in my dream, you have to post in that group. So when I woke up, I thought it doesn't make sense. There is no Muslims in that group, and I really want to find new Muslim friends. But because of that dream, I decided to post it there. As a result of that, one of the ladies contacted me. She took me for a coffee, and she said that she organized a group for Muslim ladies a few years ago, and she will take me there because the group is still functioning. So she took me to that group, and I found a circle of Muslim ladies who are practicing Islam. They learn to read Quran, they learn Arabic, they learn Egyptian, and they like to socialize. And they're expats, they are foreigners from different countries, and most of them, they came to Islam at some point, subhanAllah. And this is the best group actually in town where I am. And that made me think, without seeing my grandmother in that dream, I would never post in that group. I probably wouldn't meet that person who took me to that group. And I probably wouldn't discover this group for some time yet, if ever. What is the chance of seeing my grandmother? Now, do you think my grandmother knows where I am and she knows Egypt and she knows these Muslim groups? Of course not. She has no clue where even Egypt is. Subhanallah. But this is how I see. Allah finds a way to take you to the right place through the right means. And this was the fastest way to take me to that group, which was suited to my needs. This is not just one synchronicity. There are many synchronicities like that Allah is making for us. Like He's finding ways to give us what we really need. And especially after coming to Islam, I would say really my interest in those shamanic ceremonies or New Age or mediumship or psychic development and things like that, it's all gone out of the window. It seems like I am filled with that spiritual food that I gain through my spiritual practices, my daily spiritual practices. And I feel that there's nothing more important than connection with God in this life. There is nothing more important. Because if you're connected with God, with the divine, everything else will fall into place. All the right doors will open. You will find right opportunities and you will meet those people who will support you, who will uplift you, who will walk on that path that you are going on the path of the believers, on the path of truth, on the path towards enlightenment as a soul. And even though I used to be so interested in all these books about the matrix of this life, or like this computer simulation, that the theory about this reality, about this multidimensional reality, and about so many things, it kind of reaffirms that phrase that I received during that ceremony, that God is real, everything else is an illusion. It seems like whatever we have here, it might happen anyway, whether it's a past lives, whether they are parallel lives instead, or whether they are fragments of something, of other people's experiences that we can access somehow. It seems like many things exist, but some of them really elusive, and some of them can take us to the wrong direction. I've read somewhere that if you identify yourself as a spiritual seeker, you might be going on so many complicated paths that they are basically not true divine paths. And because of that, you can remain on those paths for a very long time, calling yourself spiritual seeker over and over and over for many years, not finding actually the truth. I think if you are actually in that situation where I used to be, this is what I would do right now. I would actually take time, meditate, pray, and have open communication with the divine, with God, and actually ask for signs and ask to take you to the right path. that he showed you what is the right path for your soul right now, for your soul development, for the enlightenment or eventual enlightenment, eventual heaven or Jannah, or whatever you want to call it. Ask the divine, ask God in any way you can to show you that path, and it will be revealed to you. I wonder if you had any of those experiences kind of similar to mine, where you found that path, or whether you had those experiences which showed you this life, death, God, existence, and so on, these themes. If you do, please share in your comments. I would love to read them. Other than that, thank you for watching, for being here with me, and I will see you in one of my next videos.